Building an in-ground pool is a big investment, which is why Viking Capital's loans are designed to spread the cost of the project over many years, so that monthly payments are affordable for your customers. Viking Capital is the preferred pool financing partner for a few important reasons. We offer financing decisions in as little as 24 hours and funding for projects as quickly as just 2 days. With loans for scores as low as 620 and no income verification options for well-qualified buyers, we also have the highest approval rates found in the swimming pool industry. A family-owned business, Viking Capital has been working shoulder to shoulder with pool builders for over 25 years. Interested in learning more about our Builder Partner Program? Visit poolloan.net for more information.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Trusty, editor of Pool Magazine, and today I'm chatting with Ryder Steimle, CEO of California Pools. They're one of the largest pool builders in the industry, with 24 locations around the U.S. and have built over 80,000 pools since 1952. It's a pleasure to have you with us today on the show, Ryder.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity.
I know that today the primary focus of our discussion is going to be on education. But before we dive deep into our conversation, I was hoping that perhaps you could share some of the history of California Pools with our listeners and help us get a little bit better acquainted with your firm and what makes your organization so unique.
Yeah, you betcha. So probably need to go back several years, back to 1952 when California Pools first started. The California Pools story starts really on a Christmas morning in 1952 when my grandfather, Wayne Steimle, wanted to give his kids a swimming pool for Christmas. And he at the time was a high school physics teacher and wanted a swimming pool being in Southern California and figured at the time, there weren't a lot of swimming pool builders or contractors, but he thought, I can do this myself. And so he acquired a swimming pool light and wrapped it up and gave it to his family under the Christmas tree back in 1952. And so that next summer, when he was on summer vacation from teaching, he actually recruited some of his high school students from his physics class to help him build what we call the first California pool. And shortly after that, all of his neighbors who stood by and watched him build this pool started asking him to build one for them. And so the next summer, he built a couple more pools and then realized he could probably make more money building swimming pools than teaching high school physics, and California Pools was off to the races.
Thanks for that bit of bio on your company. Before meeting, while researching you guys, I did a bunch of preparation, reading articles and watching videos about California Pools. And one of the best ones that I think I stumbled upon was Lorraine Steimle's video where she spoke of Wayne's contributions to the company. And she actually spoke about him announcing that they were building a pool that Christmas morning. Like it was like the quintessential Clark Griswold moment. And I love that video.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, he was pretty innovative and obviously had a lot of confidence in his abilities to, figure it out. Times were different back in the 50s, but it created a company that's been around for a long time, blessed lots of lives. And as you said, we've built many, many swimming pools.
She talked about the joy it brought your family and how neighbors wanted Wayne to build a backyard oasis for them. She spoke about his passion for innovation, something that's been at the cornerstone of what your firm is known for, going on now over 7 decades. And that's quite an achievement. Clearly, that story resonates with homeowners today. Your firm has been featured on Pool Kings. You're an award-winning top 50 PSM builder. You guys have a stellar reputation as one of the leading firms working in our field today. It's clear that transparency, good communication, both with customers and within your own organization are paramount. But so is education. And with these foundational cornerstones at your firm, can you tell us why ongoing education is such a huge priority for California Pools?
Yeah, well, it's really in our DNA, right? Because Wayne was a high school physics teacher. So, he really established way back then as he was building the company, the importance of educating both homeowners as well as team members. And that's always been, just a big priority for us. My father, who ran the company for many years, developed a lot of educational programs, some of which we, still use today. Some got a little dated, and so we had to upgrade those. But yeah, it's a huge thing, particularly I think as swimming pools get more complicated, as the world gets more complicated, as our jobs and responsibilities to provide a great experience for homeowners becomes more significant. Education is, vital to make that happen.
Well, how do you feel that education plays a role in helping foster a stronger sense of community among your own franchisees?
Well, I mean, we have different educational programs that we use. We call them training, not really education. But in terms of a community, some of those programs are in person, right? So we're together as a group in a training environment. And that obviously contributes significantly to that sense of community. One of the favorite all-time photos that we have in the company that's a favorite of many of our members is one from a training session that was held in Dana Point, California. And it's just a great photo that sort of illustrates how when we get together and we collaborate as team members in a training environment, it really, it's kind of one of those things where we all grow together, and it just creates those bonds of knowing that we're all pushing each other and we're all trying to become better together. So, from a company standpoint, it's a huge part of our culture, and we feel it's really important, obviously, and make a priority out of it. With homeowners, as contractors, we spend a whole lot of time in an intimate environment with a homeowner when we're building a swimming pool, right? In their backyard, where many times they're in the house, maybe washing the dishes at the kitchen sink, looking out the window and seeing us. And so educating the homeowner on what to expect during construction, setting proper expectations, and really helping them visualize before pool construction what's going to take place on their property is just huge. And it's always been a huge part of what we've strived to do and continue to strive to do to make sure that our customers are happy, that they know what's coming, and that we minimize surprises. You can't avoid all surprises, but at least we try and minimize them.
Sure. I mean, can you elaborate on that though? Can you expound a little bit on the specific educational resources and tools that your organization provides to franchisees?
Yeah, with franchisees, there's different needs at different levels or stages of development, right? So when we bring in a new franchisee, for example, their needs for training and education are different than franchisees who've been with us for 5 or 10 years. And so we have, kind of carved it up into specific buckets where, depending on the stage that a particular franchisee is in, we have a program for that stage. So, for example, when a new franchisee joins the team, we have a program called the Grizzly program. And it really is focused more on, I would say, the basics of sales, construction, and business management. A lot of times they're going from not knowing anything or not knowing a lot, and our business can obviously be overwhelming. And so we take them through, those basics. That program is actually a 2-year program. So there's a lot to cover. And some of the resources that we use are the PHTA courses. We also have an internal operations manual that's pretty extensive that we teach out of. And then, they obviously can refer back to. We use a fair amount of video and then also some on-site type training. So that's really, with the newer group. And then any of our team members who have been with us for more than a couple of years, the needs change, right? Because they kind of got the basics down. They feel like they got a handle on things. And so we shift into more advanced ongoing training. Still drawing from many of the same resources. We do, however, bring in at that point more outside experts. And then we also leverage kind of a peer-to-peer environment where the franchisees, we have some franchisees that have been with us for, 30, 40 years, right? So there's a lot of knowledge there that can be passed to those who are newer. And we definitely have tried to create a culture where that wisdom, that knowledge, that information can be passed through the organization. And it gives those who have been around longer sort of an opportunity to give back, which I think again adds to that culture and that sense of community. We use a fair amount of technology. So we have a monthly newsletter that goes out and it's digital in format. Part of that newsletter is what we call California Pools TV, where we're using video to basically, do ongoing training. It's short because it's monthly, it's to the point, but there might be something that our team in Salt Lake City is doing that would benefit a team in Texas. And so we'll do a lot of interviews kind of like this, kind of a podcast environment where we'll interview that team member who happens to be an expert in, one thing, so that we can then leverage that throughout the entire organization, push it out to everybody. And that's been really effective for us. And then I guess in addition to that, we also do, like I said, a fair amount of in-person stuff where we get together. Some of that is informal training environments. We have an annual conference where we get together and we have a good solid day of training. And then some of it's a little more informal when we do events where, we travel together and we'll do some training while we're playing at the same time on vacation.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, clearly, Ryder, there's some training sessions that kind of stand out in your mind. You mentioned that snapshot and Dana Point. Can you share any specific examples or maybe a success story of where that training and education has helped a franchisee become more successful and improve their operations?
I think that training is one of those things where, well, I kind of have a saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And it goes hand in hand with training. So if you're not training, you're not growing. And I think using a specific example would be just watching some of our really successful franchisees who have gone from, zero to running a $10 million operation, annual $10 million operation over a fairly short period of time. That doesn't happen without training, without leveraging that training and really showing up and making a personal commitment on their part to take advantage of the training and the programs that California Pools offers. And so, yeah, I mean, I can think of many, but I would definitely say that those who tend to show up and engage are the ones that I've seen become the most successful.
Sure. I mean, you mentioned earlier in our conversation that you've had to update your training and your operations manual over the years. I mean, how do your trainers ensure that educational content that you're providing is the most relevant and up to date with what industry trends and standards are?
Yeah, well, to be honest, what we do is we go and look for where there's frustration, where our franchisees are frustrated, where our homeowners are frustrated. What are the current frustrations being experienced out there within the organization? And that usually is a pretty good indicator of where we need to improve, things that we need to work on through either more training or revising the training program, or just kind of going back to updating our understanding of what needs to happen. Sometimes you forget the basics. So sometimes it is going back to the basics. I mean, an example of that is we have really, as part of our culture, what we call a pre-construction meeting with homeowners. And that's become part of our DNA. It's one of what we call the 10 commandments of construction, where we go out and before we start construction, but after the excitement of the sales process is complete, we have a really thorough meeting called a pre-construction meeting with homeowners to help them, again, visualize what's going to take place in their backyard set proper expectations, and really help them anticipate what they may not know. We kind of view ourselves as tour guides on that front, where we're teaching a homeowner how to build a swimming pool, and we're their guide, if you will. After years and years of doing that type of training with homeowners, it's pretty easy to get complacent and to kind of forego that meeting, right? It's a heavy lift. It takes time. We're all busy, but it's so important to teach that homeowner what's going to take place in their backyard. And if we get complacent about it, we have to go back to the basics and remind ourselves, no, we can't just not do that. We have to continue to do that. Our objective and our mission is to provide a quality swimming pool and have satisfied customers. And so if we are getting frustrations, we haven't done our job. There's something in the training process with that homeowner where we have not done our job. Either we've gotten complacent, or we need to update because maybe the swimming pool has gotten more complicated and our materials have changed. Maybe there's building codes that have changed. I mean, there's always change happening, right? And so we have to continually really proactively look for those frustrations and then cater to make sure that we're alleviating them.
I know that part of what makes a franchise so successful is the systems, the processes and procedures. Teaching and reiterating that secret sauce is how you create consistency and quality. But how does your organization measure the effectiveness and consistency of what's being taught to franchisees? Are there specific metrics or benchmarks that you look for internally?
Sure. Well, with franchisees in the past, I mean, we found that when leadership goes and spends time, again, with the franchisee, just like when the franchisee is spending time with homeowners, it doesn't take very long for frustrations to come up. And that we look at as opportunities where we can improve. This year, I mean, you talked about metrics. This year, we have decided that at the end of the year, we're going to actually have our franchise owners grade headquarters on the various programs. Everything from, training and education to other things that we offer them. And that, again, is a proactive approach to look for where we can continually improve. And so we'll develop some metrics out of that process, and we hope that we'll be able to see where there's areas that we need to work on next year.
Well, sure. I mean, people learn in different ways, though. Some folks are better suited to learning at their own pace over a computer, while for others, a more hands-on approach often helps them retain knowledge a lot better. I mean, how do you balance formal training with more practical hands-on learning opportunities within your educational framework?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all learn differently, right? And so we've definitely found that mix of various tools and resources is the best way to try and provide the information to our franchisees. So some of it is in an operational manual where, those that learn better from reading and studying, a book format can go back to that resource. But then again, those that are more visual learners, we try and leverage the video, like I talked about, photography, digital, what we call the Concern, which is a monthly newsletter, and then also on-site training, obviously. With our newer franchisees, that is super important because, again, you have this mix of learning styles. And so not everybody can sit at the computer and, plow through the information. So actually going out to a job site, reviewing different phases of job sites, talking with the superintendent who happens to be running that particular project is invaluable to newer franchisees. Even with guys who've been around for a long time, we will do something like an office tour during one of our annual conferences where we'll go out and visit the local office of the franchisee in that territory. And just that experience gives those who may not be in the area ideas and ways that they can then go back to their office and make improvements. And so that mix of technology and book form education and video and on-site education, where it's a little more hands-on is really important and an important part of the mix.
So who are the rock stars within your organization that are driving education and training within your firm?
Yeah, well, we have several rock stars. I would say that the team at headquarters is doing a fabulous job at really organizing the training programs. But I would say maybe a standout person right now is Justin McGuire, who is heading up our franchise development division. And he's really in charge of recruiting and training our new franchisees. And so the Grizzly program that we talked a little bit earlier about, he developed that program, heads it up, and really is responsible to make sure that our new franchisees are trained and have the information that they need to go out and be successful. And Justin's doing a fabulous job there.
Awesome. Well, Ryder, really appreciate you taking time out today to chat with us a bit and discuss what California Pools is doing from an educational standpoint. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, that's all the time we have left today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.
Building an in-ground pool is a big investment, which is why Viking Capital's loans are designed to spread the cost of the project over many years, so that monthly payments are affordable for your customers. Viking Capital is the preferred pool financing partner for a few important reasons. We offer financing decisions in as little as 24 hours and funding for projects as quickly as just 2 days. With loans for scores as low as 620 and no income verification options for well-qualified buyers, we also have the highest approval rates found in the swimming pool industry. A family-owned business, Viking Capital has been working shoulder to shoulder with pool builders for over 25 years. Interested in learning more about our Builder Partner Program? Visit poolloan.net for more information